Call the meeting to order at 4:30. And let's start out with roll call. Maybe if you take a look at your meeting minutes and just call out your name according to that. The August 17th meeting minutes, so everybody's not speaking over top of each other. Starting with Brian Melke.
Brian Milkey, Union Township, Isabella County, State of Michigan. Sarjeet, you're muted.
Hello, Sarjeet Chaudhary from 774 Stone Ridge Drive, Mount Pleasant, Michigan.
Jeff Sweet, Union Township, Isabella County.
Yeah, Union Township, Isabella County.
Jim Zalad, Union Township, Isabella County.
Tom Keequam, Union Township, Isabella County.
Marty Fig, Union Township, Isabella County.
Rick Byers, Union Township, Isabella County.
Dave Coyne, Union Township, Isabella County. I think Cheryl, you're the only one.
Oh, here, Union Township, Isabella County.
Okay, thank you. Go on to the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second,
A motion by Mr. Fig, supported by Mr. Coyne to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion is carried. The agenda is approved. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the meeting minutes from August 17th. For those, looking to everybody.
Great. Be happy to make a motion to accept the minutes into record.
Support.
I second it.
Motion by Brian Milkey, supported by Marty Fig, to approve the meeting minutes of August 17th. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion is approved and the meeting minutes are approved. Move on to item 5, presentations. What do we have there, Rodney?
nothing this time.
On to item 6, public comment. Anybody?
We do not have any members of the public with us this evening.
Move on to agenda item number 7, reports. Starting with 7A, accounts payable. Walk us through that, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll start out with the accounts payable for the 248 Fund East EDA. We have a payment to Consumers Energy for the electricity to the streetlights on Pickard, and that's for $621.84. And then we have a payment to Black Electric for $711.09. That's to troubleshoot issues with streetlights on Pickard, photo eyes, change some fuses, and also to install the fall banners on Pickard. And then we have a payment to CIB Planning. That's a progress payment to for the East EDA plan update. and that's for $4,060. And then we have a payment to Goner Lawn Care. That's for the mowing on Pickard in August. That's for $2,900. And we have a payment to MMI for lawn maintenance and grounds maintenance around the park benches along the Pickard corridor for August to, that's for $575. And then we have a payment to Michigan Downtown Association for an annual MDA membership. That's for $100. And we have a payment to Pleasant Time Herb Farm to water and weed the flowers on Pickard in August for $2,109. And we have a payment to Talon Turf Irrigation for repairs to the irrigation system out on Pickard. That's for $449.25. So we have a total accounts payable of $11,526.18 for the East DDA. Are there any questions on that?
I don't have any, but I'd make a motion to approve the East DDA bills as presented.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Zalid, supported by Mr. Bars to approve the East DDA payables presented. In favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion has approved, and the payables are approved. Thank you.
Okay, and then moving on for the to the accounts payable for the West DDA. We have a payment to Braun Kendrick for legal fees related to sidewalks for July. That's for $120. And then we have a payment to CIB Planning and that's a progress payment for the West DDA plan update for $2,000. And then we have a payment to Michigan Downtown Association for the annual MDA membership for $100. And we have a payment to Rowe Professional Services Company for sidewalk design survey for Remus Road. That's for work they did in July for $12,840. So we have a total accounts payable for the West DDA in the amount of $15,060 for the month of August.
Sherry, I have a question on the legal fees, and maybe Rodney would be the one to ask. But the $120, is that for the right-of-way that we needed to secure to do that project? And is there additional legal fees, or does that pretty much take care of the legal work?
You mean,
Relating to
Rodney?
the sidewalks? Yeah.
This was consulting with the attorneys about the next steps if we needed to take a legal action to pursue eminent domain to secure easements. So this was just having to look into that in detail and get some information back on what the next steps would be. So no, we have not taken that step yet. We're still working to try to collect the easements other ways, but that was part of the just finding out what was next.
As we're going in that direction, does it look like the easements are going pretty well, or are there some red flags that might be popping up?
We have struggled to secure the easements. We're continuing to work on them. I think at this point, unfortunately, we're going to go into next year again, which is unfortunate, but we are continuing to work on them. Certainly the last resort to pursue eminent domain, because it's, first of all, it's expensive, uh, from a legal perspective. We do certainly have that option if we need to.
Okay, I'm glad to know that because I know that we ran into, and maybe still are trying to overcome those hurdles on the Lincoln Road project between the bridge and the intersection at Broomfield. And it slowed that down dramatically. So I'm glad you're getting ahead of it and we're doing what we have to and can before we, like you said, have to pursue that last resort. So additionally, is there a much more survey or design work to be done from Rowe?
No, the payment you see there from Rowe was to complete the design plan. So those are pretty much complete. They've been working with MDOT on the details and the permitting side, but we're not expecting significant changes related to that.
Thank you.
That said, I'd make a motion to pay the West DDA bills as presented.
Support? Fig?
I know Sarjeet had his hand up before I did.
Yeah, Tom, you have two people have their hands up, Sarjeet and Brian.
Yeah, go ahead. Chowdhury, go ahead.
Sarjeet, you're up.
Do you have a question? Sergeant Chowdhury?
I don't think he can hear you.
No,
Well, if it's okay with the chair, I'll ask my question while Sarjeet
Yeah,
works
go ahead,
out
Brian.
whatever issue. Regarding the CIB, and I'm going from memory here, that in the past, the east and west were equal payments.
Right.
And this time it's it was about a little over 4,000 for the west and 2,000 for the, I'm sorry, over 4,000 for the east, 2,000 for the west. Is that just because we're finishing up that payment for the plan, or am I misremembering that they were same amounts?
well, many of the previous payments have been the same amounts because, of course, many of the details are the same between the two plans. Here we're seeing the difference in that the East EDA has more detail going on, but also it has the proposed expansion area that added extra level complications, and so an additional work to put that together. So that's the difference between the two. It's really related to the changes to the East EDA district.
Okay, great. If I can just make a comment too, CIB did present to the Board of Trustees, and that's all been approved. The Board of Trustees really liked the plan. They appreciated the work that the EDA was putting in and wanted to send their gratitude.
Thank you for that.
I'm all set. Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Any more questions on the West DDA payables? Nothing. We have a motion by Mr. Zalid, supported by Mr. Fig, to approve that West DDA check register. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Take us into 7B, financial reports, please.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the East DDA financial reports for the 248 fund. We'll start with the revenue and expenditure report. You'll see that revenues right now, as of the end of August, are coming in at about a little under 470,000. And then we have expenditures posted here. All of your payables that you just approved are posted in these numbers here. So your total expenditures as of August 31st are just under 197,000. So your net revenues and expenditures right now, as it stands, is approximately 273,165. And then moving on to the balance sheet, you'll see that the assets are sitting, your cash is about just under 2 million at 1,965,136. And your ending fund balance would be about 1.9 million if the year ended August 31st, but the year ends December 31st. So we've got a little bit more to go here. Are there any questions on the East DDA financials before I move on? If not, I'll move on to the West DDA. Let's take a look at the revenue and expenditure report first. So we have total revenues posted here of approximately 345,000. That's as of August 31st. And we have expenditures posted here, including all of your payables that you approved tonight. The expenditures as of August 31st are a little over 93,000. We're at 93,450.74. So your net revenues of expenditures are 251,851.86. And then when you move on and look at your balance sheet, you can see that your total assets, which consist of cash, is a little under 1.5 million. And then your ending fund balance would be, as of August 31st, 1,474,308.91. Are there any questions on any of that? If not, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to present tonight.
Thanks, Sherry.
You, Sherry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, let's let the record show the August financial reports were presented and received. The East DDA and the West DDA. Thank you. On to agenda item 7C. Already has the board member matrix, membership matrix in your packet.
Tom, I have no news for you yet. So if anybody here has somebody that might be interested in serving on our board, I encourage them to consider reaching out to the township.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Moving on to agenda item number 8, new business. Start us out with 8A. Rodney, please.
Actually, Kim Smith is with us from Public Services, and so I'll turn the time over to her for this item.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see everyone. It's been a while. Tonight, I'm asking for approval of the participation agreement with the Union Township Board, between the Union Township Board and the EDA for Phase 2 financing of Jamison Park upgrades in the amount of $191,285.09. A little background, as you guys are, most of you are all aware, we started this project in 2018. It was spearheaded by the EDA. And you did the first step was the plan that was put together by Goodrow and Associates. We then followed up with phase one. The project was broken into two phases, mainly for funding purposes. Phase one was started at the end of 2020 and completed at the first of this year. That included mainly work inside Jamison Hall. The hall was updated, new flooring, new ceiling, new lighting, LED lighting. The kitchen was remodeled and updated. There was some significant plumbing updates done in the building. There was a new door was put on the south side of the building. There's been quite a bit of work done inside the hall. I know that you haven't had an opportunity to see it yet, but maybe a few of you have, but it turned out fabulous. It's a great improvement to the hall. Phase two is for mainly exterior improvements. There's a little bit of work being done inside the building, but the majority of the work is on the outside of the building to the drainage. Sidewalks are being installed both out on Bud Street, and there's some sidewalks going in internally within the park. There is new fencing being installed at the front of the park, a new sign. We are doing work, putting in a dumpster enclosure. The dugouts are getting a new roof, they're getting painted. So there's quite a bit of exterior work that's happening in phase two. That work has actually begun. The project was bid and it was awarded by the Township Board to Konwinski Construction, who also did the first phase. They did a wonderful job on the first phase. So we were happy that they were the contractor on the second phase as well, because we were pleased with the results. So tonight we're asking for approval of the participation agreement. And then this, if you approve tonight, the participation agreement will be presented to the board at their first meeting in October. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Kim, when you mentioned the amount that was being put forward tonight, was it 191,000? Is
Yes.
that
191,285.09.
okay? I'm looking at the document. It's saying the bid for the contractor is 241. And then there's an amount that was awarded for the phase two completion of 207,431. But on my paperwork, I don't see the 191 amount. I don't know.
The 191, so there's funding from some different sources. So the 191 is the amount that the EDA is funding in
I
this
see.
phase.
Okay, the rest will come from the township then?
Correct,
Yep.
yes.
And
I
that'll
don't know if
be,
you recall, but phase one was the bulk of that was funded through township funds, because it just has to do with the projects that this board picked to fund versus what the township board did. And then now phase two is predominantly being funded by the EDA. And in early this year, you did approve a budget adjustment to fund a large portion of this project so that we could do phase two. Otherwise, we would not be able to complete phase two.
okay. Oh, I see the amount now. It's at 191,285.09. So that's what we're working for tonight.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, okay.
And overall, the whole project, and I want to thank the EDA, because you have definitely been the body at the township who has really put this project forth. The majority of the funding is coming from the EDA, but overall at the park, the township, between the township board, the EDA, and funding, 2% funding, $419,000 have been spent at this park. So it's a huge improvement to the park.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice project. The community is really going to benefit from this.
Have you had any community members mentioning the difference in how things look so far?
We have, especially during elections. This is a polling location, so a lot of the residents who vote at Jameson were very pleased with the changes. And I spend, I go to Jameson quite often, both because we're doing projects over there and because the park needs, you have to keep an eye on it. And there are people that are using the park quite a bit, and everybody has positive feedback for the park. We have a lot of people who go to the park, especially in the summer, and eat their lunch. And you'll often go over there and there'll be several people under the pavilion eating their lunch, and they've all had positive feedback on what they're already seeing. And they haven't even seen what's going to happen at, the rest of the outside improvements. Those are just starting.
Well,
So it's very nice.
that's great news. Thank you.
Just to comment that playground equipment was quite a nice addition too. Do you know if that's getting used much at all?
It is getting used a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
I think the word is getting out. We just had a really nice article in the Epic Center publication. It's an online publication. They had some nice photos, and there are a lot of families that are finding it who came and used the smaller equipment in the front, but now they're aware that there's some equipment back by the pavilion, and the feedback has been very positive on that as well.
And then when can they use the kitchen?
The kitchen is for when you rent the hall.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the kitchen would be used.
Okay, and how much is the rental?
It's either 150 or 175. I'm sorry, Cheryl, I don't remember right off the top of my head. It's a little bit different. If you're a resident, it's a little bit lower than if you're not a resident. I just don't remember right off the top of my head what it is.
I think it's
But I don't rent it.
needed up.
Yeah, it's right around that price.
Okay.
I do want to give thanks to the city too regarding that playground equipment. They managed to strike a deal and essentially get 2 playground equipment sets for 1. And so we ended up splitting the cost and got it a lot cheaper than we would have otherwise. So even though that was maybe a year or 2 ahead of schedule, the city allowed us to put that in at much lower cost. So I want to say thank you to them. But I did have another question too. So the bid was awarded on, I think, August 11th. Will that hold until next year, or is the thought that we can still get this done this year? Even
they've already started.
So,
if you go over there, they have some sidewalks installed, and yes, so the project's already underway because the township board did award it to Konwinski. So yes, we plan on getting it done. There may be a delay in putting up the fence at the front. It's more of a decorative fence, and it's our understanding that they're having trouble getting that. So that may be delayed until spring to be installed, but the rest of the improvements, it looks like we're going to be able to get them done this year. I'm hoping that we'll be able to rent again for the Christmas season, because we have a lot of families who use Jameson for their Christmas parties.
Wonderful.
And we have businesses that use it as well for their Christmas parties. So it's a nice facility for that purpose. So I'm hoping we'll have it done in time that we can rent it, and it can be used later this winter.
And Kim, you were correct. It's 175 for non-residents, 125 for residents.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
More comments for Kim or questions on this?
Do we need a motion then? Ready for a motion?
Yeah.
Rodney, just read the resolution. Looks pretty brief.
Yes, yeah,
Past ones.
that would be that'd be sufficient.
All right. I move that we approval of the participation agreement with the Charter Township of Union Board of Trustees for Phase 2 funding for the Jameson Park upgrades in the amount of $191,285.09, and authorize the township manager to sign the agreement.
Second.
motion by Zalid, by Mr. Sweet. Approve this request for EDA board action. No more questions. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Kim. Moving on to the next item. Rodney, you want to talk us through that?
Thank you. This is the first of two scheduling items. This first one is our annual approval of the calendar for the coming year. So you have in your packet the proposed 2022 calendar. And we are proposed at this point to maintain the same schedule, maybe on the same Tuesday, third Tuesday of the month at 4:30 p.m. If you look at the list of meetings there, you'll see the regular meetings throughout, and then there are three, I guess what we might call special meetings. One is a joint meeting on March 29th. This is something that we haven't done for a couple of years because of COVID, but we do have an annual meeting that the Board of Trustees host with all of the boards and commissions together. To have an opportunity to hear from one another and opportunity to report to the board on things. And so the board has tentatively planned for that for March 29th. They will be approving the calendar ultimately later, but that's our tentative date. And then we have our two informational meetings. The first one proposed for July 26th. That's a fourth Tuesday at 4:30. And the second one, we're doing something potentially a little different. We looked at trying to have the second one before our regular August meeting. So that's how it's formatted here. And you'll see that again for our next agenda item. But the idea would be to meet a little early on that date, perhaps meet at 4 o'clock on that date, and then have the regular meeting to follow. So those are the meeting dates in the calendar. I'm happy to answer any questions that may arise.
Chair, if I could just comment real quick.
Go ahead.
To follow up on the joint meeting date, I just wanted to explain the Board of Trustees. We've done this in the past, with the exception of the last couple, as mentioned, because of COVID. But this meeting typically was held towards the end of August, and it usually was a recap and an opportunity to talk with all the other boards and share what's going on with your various committees and commissions, et cetera. And the thought from the Board of Trustees was that we really kind of wanted to hear from all the boards leading into budget season. So, at this point in the calendar, the Board of Trustees has already begun the budget process. And so we really wanted that to help shape the upcoming year's budget. And, I guess I'm asking for feedback if that seems, that was our hope, at least. Silence.
I think it makes sense. The only, and I don't know if this would be an in-person meeting or a Zoom meeting, because I understand that we can't do both at this point. And I know at that time of the year, I'm usually south. So,
yeah, I think we would probably, most of the, what I'll call volunteer boards have elected to remain remote. If we're still allowed to at that point, I'm guessing that might be how we do it. But I believe the Open Meetings Act, unless that's renewed, will expire on December 31st, allowing us to do these remote meetings.
That is correct. As things are written right now, we'll have to return to in-person meetings starting in January. There are two bills floating around the state legislature to potentially extend that authority beyond the end of the year, but they're just bills. They haven't. I don't think they've even gotten out of committee yet.
But Rick, I'd be happy to share, because I think in listening to our other boards, the desire at this point would be remote if we were allowed to do that. And that makes sense too.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. If
So
it,
Brian,
that's the way it'll be, so.
Brian,
Yes.
I was just wanting to comment on your idea of and I think it's a good one, about looking at the budget for the different organizations that would be meeting together and the different boards, and see how that might apply to the upcoming season, construction or otherwise. And I think that that's a very good idea, as opposed to, like you said, a wind up and referring back to what has happened. Not that that's bad, but I think if we're going to have a joint meeting that's more productive, I think that would be a better time to hold it. Does it give you enough time for your budgets to have that at that point?
Yeah, it does.
Board of Trustees, okay.
It does, yep.
Okay.
I'll give credit to Trustee Thering, James Thering. It was his suggestion, and I thought it was an excellent one.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea too. I would support that.
I didn't mean to interject too much here, Rodney, but I wanted to point out why that change and get a little feedback. Hope that's okay.
Sure, it was excellent.
Brian, Tom here. That's kind of, I mean, I've attended these in the past, and me and Mark Stuhldreyer, and that's kind of what we do. What we did, I just run through the highlight of all of our projects, kind of do this executive high level to the other township boards, and they do likewise. But we could definitely weight it towards, a budgetary presentation. Maybe that's something Rodney and you can help me write my speech for this meeting.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm improvising most of the time I go in there, but I haven't got any complaints. No, that's a great idea. Thank you. Hearing no more discussion, do we have a motion for the action requested?
Would you like to have me read the resolution, Rodney, for this, or
If you would, yeah.
Okay. I move to approve the schedule of regular information and informational meetings of the Economic Development Authority for the 2022 calendar year to take place at 4:30 on the third Tuesday of each month, except as otherwise noted in the schedule in accordance with the requirements of the Open Meetings Act.
Support.
No more questions on this. We have a motion by Mr. Fig, supported by Mr. Bars, to approve this request for EDA board action. All in favor, say aye.
Have a good night.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. No opposition. The request for the board action motion is approved. Thank you. Start us on 8C, Rodney, please.
All right. This one is related to our informational meetings and related to this year's calendar. We do have an information, or what was supposed to be our second informational meeting next week on Tuesday at 4:30. Please make sure that's on your calendar. I've already heard from the county officials, and they are planning to be there. But we do need to hold two. Our first one was supposed to be on August 24th. We didn't get a quorum. the various problems. I found out after the fact that we had at least one member who couldn't get in, but we unfortunately weren't close on the quorum. So we do have to reschedule that meeting, and we will make sure that we do have a quorum at these meetings. This meeting next week, I expect might be 30 minutes. The county is probably going to come with a few questions about our plan updates that we've been working on, kind of as a preview to the Board of Trustees public hearing that's scheduled for October. The second one that we're going to need to reschedule, I suspect is going to be very short, because I would assume that the county would not come twice to these meetings. But nonetheless, we do have to hold it, and we do have to have a quorum in order to count it. So with that in mind, we did include on our request for board action 3 potential dates. The first one is Tuesday, October 19th. That's your regular meeting date. So we could, I think as I mentioned earlier about next year, we could meet early if that's possible for people to do at 4 o'clock. Then with your regular meeting to follow at 4:30. That way it could be pretty straightforward. We could even probably do 4:15 and 4:30, I think, because this one is going to be short. So if that works for you, that's fine. We also then have the next Tuesday, October 26th, or the end of November as potential dates where we could hold these meetings. So we just need to have a motion tonight to reschedule for one of those 3 choices, and we'll get it on the calendar and move forward with it.
If I had a personal preference, it would be on the 19th, only because it's piggybacking on a opportunity that we're getting together anyways.
Yeah.
I would agree with Brian, and also I thought that was a good idea when it was scheduled on the EDA meeting on August 16th of this coming year. And it seems like it would work just as well next month. So I would support that as well.
And as I said, although we noted it for 4, I don't object if you wanted to set it for 4:15, because it will be short, I expect.
And if it runs long, then we start our other meeting a little bit late, correct?
That's correct. And we'll in the notice we put out for that, we'll make that clear.
Maybe in a continuation to the first meeting.
Tom here. I like that, piggybacking it on October 19th. Like everybody's favorable to that. Can I get a motion? Approve.
I'll make a
Request.
motion. I move to revise the 2021 Economic Development Authority meeting schedule to reschedule the August 24, 2021 EDA informational meeting to October 19th at 4:15. October 19th, 2021 at 4:15 p.m.
I second it.
Hearing no more comments, we got a motion by Mr. Fig, supported by Mr. Chowdhury, to approve of this request for EDA board action. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same. And the request for board action is approved. Thank you.
Question.
Go ahead.
Ron, just clarify, there was a meeting next Tuesday, the 28th as well?
That is correct. Please make sure that's on your calendar. This will be our first informational meeting.
Okay, I will be in somewhere in southern Utah, so hiking, so I won't be around. So
You can call in.
not down there.
If you're up in the mountains, boy, those cell towers will reach you from a long distance.
Is that at 4:30 as well then?
That will be at 4:30. Yes.
Thank you.
And we please, I guess maybe I wouldn't mind if we could take a poll of who can be there, because we do need to make sure we have a quorum. We'll have the county officials there. And so we'll make sure we have a group, full group.
I
So I
can
guess-
be there.
Okay.
I should be able to make it.
I should be able to be there.
Same.
A Zoom meeting, right? Zoom?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So I have Brian and Cheryl and Jeff and Dave and Tom. So I need one more to get to our.
Marty Fig,
Marty?
I'll be there.
All right.
I will be there too.
All right. Thank you, Sir G. All right.
And I'll send out the meeting information just like I do our monthly meeting. So everyone will get that in their email, a link.
So there aren't requirements for posting that meeting publicly?
What?
Try that
So-
again.
So we do post it on the Township Hall. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but we do post it at the Township Hall. The requirement is that we need to notify the taxing jurisdictions, which is the county. And so we've done that for this one for September, and we'll notify them of the other one as well.
Thank you.
We don't have to put it in the newspaper or anything like that.
Moving on to item 9B, pending business. Do we have anything there, Rodney?
We do not.
Anything on agenda item number 10, director comments?
I do have some updates there. Just some housekeeping items. Our irrigation system, the water has been turned off. It's scheduled for winterization. You've probably seen the fall banners at the interchange have gone up. We have some disabled street lighting out on East Pickard Road. There's about a half dozen poles that are out there. The issue is some electronic equipment. We had one out near Somerton Road that was blinking for quite a while before Block Electric was able to get it turned off. Those driver units are on order, but I think as Kim mentioned earlier, it's a challenge getting things, and so we're just waiting on a shipment on those, and as soon as we have them, Block Electric will go out and fix those lights. Just a couple items I mentioned earlier, that we do have a Board of Trustees public hearing on our East and West EDA district development and tax increment financing plans that you approved and recommended to them. That hearing is set for October 13th. If you go around the districts, you may see copies of our notices. This particular process has the most involved hearing requirements of anything under Michigan law. And we had, in addition to mailings and publication in the newspaper and a certified letter to the county, we have to post the notices in at least 20 places in each district. So you'll see signs and or notices, salmon colored notices in a number of businesses. You'll see notices on the outside of the former Mid-Michigan College building, conveniently as a public building, it counts. So I've made use of the windows there to post a couple. And you'll see some signs out and about that we had printed to make sure we covered everything, including some signs right out here at the Township Hall in the road right of way, which is part of the West District. So you'll see those out and about. Certainly welcome to come to that hearing. And that will also be the first reading of the updated East and West EDA ordinances that formally extend the districts beyond December 31st. So we're coming to the conclusion of that adoption process. We're expecting that to wrap up by November. The last item, just to give an update on the M20 reconstruction plans, those are continue to move forward. We are going to have some conversations about, or a conversation about our irrigation system. The M20 we really pushed MDOT quite hard on trying to protect that system. They did look at those options, and towards the end of August, Brian Milky got a letter back that followed up on some of the things we've been working with them on, and one of them was the irrigation. That they essentially said we can't preserve it. They are particularly at this point on the north side of the road, pretty much going to wipe it out because they won't need to put in a temporary lane on that side. And they're also taking out an MDOT storm sewer that's underneath it. On the south side, they're going to be doing some damage to it because they're going to need to at least encroach into it several feet as part of their construction plans. So it'll be an item for next year, but we're going to need to kind of have a conversation about post-construction, what to do with that irrigation, and what you'd like to do in terms of planning for reconstructing it or not down the road. They are going to be taking out many of our streetlights. They have committed to protecting those and putting them back. So the street lighting side, they're willing to take care of, but not the irrigation. So that covers the major items. We will have, expect to have on your next month, a proposed budget. We've been working on that internally, and we'll have a proposed budget for your next meeting, and that you'll see that will reflect the things we've been working on all year with regards to these plan updates in the project priorities that we've been discussing. So look forward to talking with you about that. That's all I have today.
Okay, for the update, Rodney, a couple comments on the irrigation program. Maybe we can should ask MDOT just the size of the green belt areas. What is their restoration method? I mean, if they don't want irrigation, they just want it to go to weeds and gravel. What is their restoration program? I don't understand why they don't embrace an irrigation system.
They don't mind if we put the irrigation back. We'll have to go through their permitting process to do it, but they're willing to have it in the right of way. They're just not willing to protect it during construction, and they're certainly not willing to pay for it to be put back. As I said, they're planning on putting back the street lighting system. They're willing to include in their scope, but not the irrigation. They consider that to not be a utility, and so it would be entirely on us, cost-wise, both to remove and protect whatever we want to preserve of that system, and also then to put it back afterwards, if we choose to. I haven't seen the details on restoration yet. I do know that they typically put down topsoil and seed it, but that's really the extent of what they do for those margins. So they will make sure that there's grass there, but they won't do the irrigation. We can, if we, and this is one of the reasons why we'll want to talk about this soon in the next few months. We can work with them to coordinate any restoration work. So, for example, we can coordinate to get our any rebuild of the irrigation done before they put down the topsoil and the hydro seed it, so we're not trying to do work after the fact.
And I'm thinking we should work with them, and that I can see their side too. I mean, that's the irrigation, the end zones are plastic, and a lot of times they aren't. Not much you can do with them when you're hauling a D9 dozer through the thing or a big excavator.
Yeah.
But however, there are still, like, the locations of the control panels, all the water main backflow preventers and valving off our existing water main could be salvaged, where we're just it'd be a picnic to come back and put another system on. So maybe we do want to spearhead like Teelan's or somebody on receiving their plan set, coordinate a kind of a reinstallation of the system. You know, typically, I mean, that's the last thing that go in just before they do their final topsoiling and restoration, like you said.
Dave,
That's
Dave
the way
Court, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's the way I'd like to see us run with it and not abandon the whole thing. I just think it'd look terrible without irrigation.
Well, on that comment, Tom, I was really impressed by how that corridor is looking. Just the last couple days driving through there, and Gunner's been doing a nice job of mowing. The turf is looking healthy and not weedy. And so I think it's an impressive thing to have a nice border along that road. And if it has to get ripped up, I do think it's worth looking at trying to keep it that way, because it's going to be that way for decades to come. And so looking at trying to preserve what we have, or maybe even it's an opportunity to upgrade the irrigation methods and use more efficient ways of irrigating and more modern types of sprinkling systems. Who knows, maybe it can be done with detectors and only run when it's needed, because I heard a comment before, why are the sprinklers running? Why are we paying for that while it's raining? And so, you know, some of those things might be able to be looked at as well. So I'm in favor of pursuing the positive attitude of how can we improve it and make it better. And unfortunately, it's going to have to cost some money, but that's the way it is at this point.
I have a comment, but I want to defer to Brian. I think you had your hand up first.
Well, go ahead. I can wait. Not a
Actually,
problem.
my comment was, Rod, as you're putting a budget together, I mean, we're probably going to have to pay for this. The way it sounds is that they're going to tear it up and do whatever they can do, and we'll salvage something maybe. But is it worth just taking a stab and throw some? I'm sure it's going to be a few thousand at least to repair and replace. Do we just throw that in a budget then somehow as a number?
This will be their construction project is going to be 2023 and probably wrapping over into 2024. So it won't be next year.
Okay.
So my thought is we'll bring this back to you as an agenda item. I'll put some data together and we can have a conversation. I certainly have no objection if the consensus is to put it back. Just like I said, I just want to make sure you're aware that it is going to be on us to put it back. So Dave Coyne has had his hand up for some time now.
What if they're taking out they're going to take out a half a lane, or they're going to widen it?
Yeah, no, they're going to keep one lane open in each direction during construction, and in order to do that, they are going to have to create a temporary lane. And their plan, the last I've seen, was to basically grade down that north side down to the existing road level. So like I said, they're going to completely wipe out the irrigation system to do that. And they're actually talking about potentially taking out some of the sidewalk on the north side in order to create a lane there that would be available for construction purposes. And then I'll be put back when they're done.
It's not going to get narrow, or it's going to stay the same width eventually.
That's what I've heard. Yes, it's basically the same.
They're taking out some. You need a sprinkler system in some of that, but they're not going to do that. Okay, I see. I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you mentioned on the south side, the irrigation, it may be just a short segment that they might be tearing out, and so that we might be able to just repair.
Well, a short width from the curb going back. They've indicated that they're going to need to cut into that space at least several feet, because they have under drains and such under those curbs, and so any portion of that irrigation that is within a few feet, let's say 3 feet, maybe 4 of the curb would be damaged, would be removed.
Okay.
as part of cutting into it.
So that's gonna likely be fairly substantial as well then.
It will be, yeah.
So you mentioned sidewalks on the north side. That's something they'll repair then, or restore, I should say?
Yeah, they're actually looking at redoing a substantial amount of our sidewalks, because they're going to be redoing a lot of the or almost all the driveways, and because they're making grading changes, in some cases it may affect sidewalks as well. So they've already planned for and budgeted for a pretty substantial rebuild of those sidewalks.
So last issue then, what about all the trees that have been put in along there?
Yeah, that's a good question. My expectation is that the trees that are on the outside of the sidewalk, those are still in the road right away, because the sidewalk is actually cheated into the right of way a bit in most places. If the tree is on the outside of the sidewalk towards the buildings, they won't be disturbed. They have promised to minimize their impacts on other trees. There have been comments that there are a few trees that they're concerned about from a visibility perspective. I haven't been able to figure out where those are. I think it was just a general comment rather than one specific to this particular road corridor. But actually, we're going to be looking at plans again shortly, another internal meeting, and I'm hoping to get a little bit more information on what trees they might be concerned about. On that topic, though, as part of doing the public notices for this October 13th hearing, I did have a conversation with the owner, Ken, of the Pickard Party Store. This is on the south side of Pickard Road at Florence. And he is going to likely be coming back to you with a request to remove the tree that's right next to his sign. It's actually, the tree is growing into his sign. It's essentially blocking the sign entirely, but most importantly, it's actually growing into it. And so you may see that request maybe next month as well. I gave him the paperwork on it. And he was going to put something together. But I will continue to update you, and hopefully, certainly in the next few months, I expect we're going to get far more specific on some of these particular items like trees and sidewalks and such, as their plans are becoming more specific.
Before we move on, I have one more thought on the irrigation. And looking backwards is easy to do, but we may not have funded all those efforts that we made in the irrigation over the last few years with the mapping and the massive amounts of repair work that we've done. But on the positive side, looking down that corridor, you can see the results of a good irrigation system. And having somebody maintain it properly and look after it and what results are received from it. But I do think it's worth considering going forward how much money we may want to throw at this system if we know it's going to be pretty much wiped out. That might be something that we could look at in the near future before we start throwing more money at repairs and or other parts of the irrigation, even though the construction is still a year or more away. But that's my comment, is that maybe we should look at how much money we're going to put into the current irrigation with the understanding that we might have to redo what's there. So with that, I just leave it to your discussions with the state and or Teal to see where that might lead us, Rodney. Thank you.
Marty, I like what you just said, and I like what Rick Barr said. It's unfortunate, and I don't know, maybe you, Rodney, or Kim, Amy, we put the irrigation system in. That was Rowe Engineering, completed the design. We had a complete plan set. I remember having record drawings of it, because we did it in a couple phases. But more significantly, going back to what Rick said, seems like in that job file, we should have the value, like an itemized breakdown of everything we did, that we could talk, not some kind of a evaluation of the system itself, talking to MDOT that, hey, you're wasting $250,000 of our equipment we put in here.
We did have that conversation with them, I assure you. I didn't have a particular number, but I pushed him on that this was essentially utility. It was we really pushed him on the idea. You know, there's miles of piping through there, and could not move them from that position. That irrigation is not something that they will protect.
Yeah.
So
I don't doubt it. I mean, to be honest with you, that's how I do my projects. I mean, we're rebuilding a couple huge parking lots for the casino resort and the tribe, and a lot of that plastic components, not a big priority in the big scheme of things. I don't doubt you negotiated hard. I even witnessed you in the meeting a couple times. But I think that job file, even to help us do a rebuild of it, that job file may be worth finding.
we actually have those details, some with the help of MDOT, because they had the files as well. They shared what they had with us. I've shared what we have with them with regards to street lighting in particular, but also the irrigation. Between the two databases, we have pretty good record of what's out there. So that will help with regards to removing whatever we want to preserve as well. And of course, Teal and Turf has done excellent work. They know where every head is out there, every sprinkler head. So we'll be able to maximize the benefit on whatever we are going to take out ahead of time.
If I remember, Rod, we couldn't find the original plans. I think Bethel Irrigation put that all in.
Right.
And we hired Teelan to go out and kind of relocate things and kind of redraft whatever they could. I'm not too sure. Did we ever find the original plans or the original work?
We have the as-built drawings. I think they're reconstructed ones now. The original documentation, I don't think that may have even existed. I've not found any indication that the original document was available, but we do have good documentation.
I had one more question. Actually, just to let the board know, Rodney, and Mark Stool Dryer attended this Consumers Energy Natural Gas Gateway $1 million capital project they just put in corner of 20 and Somerton. And that was interesting. But it reminded me of, they talked about us working with them on some kind of an entrance sign back on that project. I just wonder whatever became of that, you know?
Well, we're working on it. I had a conversation just the other day with Mid-Michigan College. We're trying to identify some good sign companies to have them submit their qualifications for designing something there. Definitely Consumers Energy is supportive of it. Mid-Michigan College is supportive of essentially replacing their existing directional sign over there with something where they incorporate into an entrance sign. So that is proceeding. In fact, I'm hoping to have some, like I said, some sign company qualifications for you to take a look at. That I expect we will be moving forward with that. We actually have related to that, but I forgot to include the property at 5800 East Pickard that we're purchasing for primarily for the sewer pumping station rebuild there on Enterprise Drive. The small office building is next to Baymont Inn, right there at the corner at Enterprise. We're closing on that property, scheduled to close on that property on Friday. They have a sign out front that is the old Enterprise Park sign that the township will end up owning as well. And so there's an opportunity actually to look at two signs out there, one that gateway sign potentially, but also look at new entryway signage into the industrial park. Because that Enterprise Park sign has not really been touched, I don't think, since the late 70s when it was installed. It's a remarkably durable sign. It actually is in pretty good shape, but it's definitely outdated. And so we're looking at this point at doing something perhaps with both of those sign locations in the near future. So we expect to see, we'll probably start with a request for qualifications, have some sign companies present what they can do to for you to take a look at and choose a preferred company you'd like to work with.
Thanks. That helps. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds good also.
I'm sorry, as a sidebar, Mark, as well as Rod and myself were at the Middle Mission Development Corporation meeting this morning at the Doherty. Every quarter they have a meeting inviting anyone involved in economic development or any business community. And it's quite a large attendance, but the head of, one of the heads of Consumers Energy was there speaking and talking about their aggressive stance on going more to green energy for producing power. And I thought they had a great presentation this morning. I'm really surprised how fast they're getting out of coal, much more than not faster than anticipated. So I know those meetings are once a quarter. This is the first one they've actually had since COVID, a breakfast meeting, and of course they're free. And I think as the next one will be another 3 months or so, I think hopefully we can get information out to any of the members that want to attend. They're generally will have people at the head of certain areas in the state of Michigan. Could be economic development, could be anything. But again, I appreciate that Rod and Mark were both there this morning to take that in. So so anyhow, I just want to pass that on.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. Hearing no more comments and no hands up. We have this informational meeting scheduled September 28th and the next regular scheduled meeting October 19th. Public hearing also the 19th, so look forward to seeing everybody there. And with that, I think we can call the meeting adjourned, 5:43.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Right.
Good night.